All right, folks, it's that time again. Another exciting adventure with Neil and Ryan on the Die Hard Republican Hour. As always, you're joined by your host, neocon, not Neo, don't even say it. And my virtually mute co-host, Ryan No. That's Ryan No, not Rhino, for you folks out there in Radio Land. Get it right. Today, we're joined by a man who needs no introduction. If you're a person on Twitter with a Twitter bio that reads something like blocked by Roseanne, Alec Baldwin, or Keith Olbermann, I guess it's and, they usually go for all three, or hashtag I am Breitbart, or hashtag war, or have a Twitter AVI, that's what it says here, I guess that's the Twitter picture with the likeness of Andrew Breitbart, and any combination of an American flag, a bald eagle, or a Chick-fil-A icon. That's where we're at right now, folks. Conservatism. We're talking, of course, about the one and the only Kurt Schlichter. Kurt Schlichter. Now, we'll jump right in here, and let me say first, we've been trying to have some, I guess we've been having some difficulty trying to get Kurt to work his Skype button. Is that a button? I'm not even sure. So maybe hit or miss here for a little while, but we're going to go ahead and get Kurt to tell us a little bit about yourself. How might our audience know you?
You may know me from writing from Big Hollywood. You know, I'm a funny guy. I was an ex-stand-up comic. I'm also an Army infantry colonel, lieutenant colonel, who's done two tours in hostile fire zones.
Well, we thank you for your service, Kurt, and we can surely attest to your wit. I mean, the way you say, fetch me a latte, hashtag caring, when someone makes a valid argument, that is the funniest dismissal ever. But the reason we brought you here today is to talk about the two articles you've recently written over at BigHollywood.com about those crazy fringe Ron Paul people, and how they're going to cost Mitt and the Republicans the election, taking their principled stand. Now, you're taking some heat for this, and we'd love to know how you figured you were going to convince these Ron Paul people that supporting the Constitution equaled voting for a candidate that they argue has no regard for the Constitution. Can you go ahead and tell us how you crafted this article? How about that?
Job is to string together random streams of nouns, verbs, and adjectives together,
Well, to be honest, that's a little unhelpful, but surprisingly candid. So what I gleaned from this article, and by the way, as a diehard Republican, I, Neil Khan, and my sidekick here, Ryan No, agree with you, is that sometimes you just have to put principle aside, Ron Paul people, and vote for the lesser of two evils. Could you explain this concept to our audience, Kurt?
I want to figure out who I dislike, who I like the least, the most, and then I want to vote for the other guy.
Hey-o, looks like Kurt found the old Skype button there. So let's get into it. Okay, who you like the least, the most, and vote for the other guy. Now that's what I'm talking about. You listen up there, libertarians, because that's how it's done, okay? So obviously you're voting for Mitt Romney. We read your articles. We get that. But your critics are saying you're kind of scared that Romney is a weak, flawed, kind of transparent candidate who's openly seeking to serve the ruling class, and that your articles are a disingenuous attempt to kind of simultaneously attract votes to Romney, your candidate, while dismissing libertarians as ideologically kind of a non-threat to the existence of the Republican Party. So two parts here. So first, are you indeed voting for Mitt Romney, and are you genuinely trying to appeal to the Ron Paul crowd? We await your answer there, Kurt.
Oh, God, it switches around, and I'm going to lose like 50 friends no matter what I say.
That's
although I do want to lose all the Ron Paul guys.
okay.
I do. I can't get behind the whole anti-Israel thing. There's just some lines you can't cross.
Okay.
Yeah, he's right on guns. So is everybody else. I even think Mitt is. Even Mitt's not dumb enough to cross us. Or is he?
Laughing out loud at that, Kurt. That's pretty refreshing, that honesty there about the Ron Paul stuff. You can't see. But we're winking at you right now, buddy. So I gotta say, though, it sounds like you're buying into the arguments our critics have been making about the Romney and this gun thing, for instance. This is usually when some little jerk named @Danbojangles on Twitter would tweet the show and link us to one of the dozens or hundreds, I don't know, hundreds of clips of Mitt Romney flip-flopping on guns. Going back many years, they think that this in some way proves that Mitt doesn't care about the Constitution, isn't really serious, whatever they're trying to say. Say it ain't so, Kurt. How do you feel about Mitt Romney?
And I think Romney has some chance of winning, which I think ironically is worse than him losing. Because the last thing we need, I mean, imagine if we had a President McCain right now adopting every one of these commie policies that Obama's doing, except doing it as a Republican. Think of how we'd be tarred.
Kurt, I am floored here. You just punched me in the gut. You're serious. We lost your Skype feed just now, but this is serious stuff. It almost sounds, and forgive me for saying this, it almost sounds like you've been hanging out with these Ron Paul types a little bit too much to try to get this article written here. What's with this principled understanding that Romney is, what do they always tweet something at me, they call him a quote, a shill for the oligarchs. Do you fear a Romney presidency?
Well, that's why I'm afraid of from Romney. He wins, gets in, and governs like a moderate. Oh God. Ugh.
So what you're saying is that's it. No Romney for you. Is that what you're saying to us? This is pretty big breaking news here, because you've been pushing pretty hard for this guy. Is it just a gun thing? What's going on here?
Oh, I may be a BMW driving trial lawyer for Los Angeles, but I grew up in a house where I had shotguns out, hanging on the wall, where my dad took us hunting.
Kurt, you are truly crushing me this evening. So many shocking revelations here. After reading your articles, I was thoroughly convinced you wouldn't be opposing anyone with an R next to the name on grounds of principle, choosing instead to fulfill your duty as an American, a patriotic American, to vote for one or the other, as is our only option. If this is only about hunting, I think we can bring you back onto the right page here, the right team. Mitt Romney stated numerous times that he's a varmint hunter. I'm sure he's killed many varmints in his adult life. So if it's just about hunting, rest assured, we've got a hunter on our team.
Quoted.
Don't bogart those Cheetos!
Well, as a Tea Party conservative, I've got to say, this is pretty disturbing to listen to. I mean, I'm a Tea Party conservative, and I make no bones about it. I'm one of these Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich kind of Tea Party conservatives. We've been at this for a while now, a couple of years, the old school guys, small government. I realize our country's broke, and we have to cut spending. Except the military budget, we can't touch that. But everything else, we have to borrow and spend to keep the world safe for democracy. We are the world's police. That's our job. I think it's in the Constitution. Of course, the welfare state, that's a function of government. We're going to keep that going. We got to make cuts there. There has to be some cuts. Well, I think Paul Ryan has a good plan. We're going to get to that in the future at some point. But what you're saying about Mitt, it really bothers me. But now I know our critics will say, how could we vote for Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan when they vote for things like undeclared war, or TARP and the auto bailouts, or the Patriot Act, or warrantless wiretapping, or support for torture, or indefinite detention of American citizens without due process, or the slaughter of civilians with drones, or extrajudicial murder of American citizens, and the imprisonment of nonviolent drug offenders who are, overwhelmingly disproportionately minorities. Or how can we vote for the guy flip-flopping on reining in the power of the Federal Reserve? Or the guy who gave Obama and company the idea for healthcare mandates and is vowing to repeal and replace, whatever that means. That's what the critics always say. What does that mean? Stupid. We know what that means, I think. How could we vote for the guy rattling a saber for preemptive war with yet another Middle Eastern country, I mean, how should someone holding these views feel about the prospect of being blamed for the impending loss of a candidate like Mitt Romney, who, until moments ago, I was convinced you were voting for and supporting? How should they feel about that?
The proper response is mockery and resistance.
Well, I'm sure it's forthcoming, Kurt. We shall see. You poked a few hornets' nests here in the past few days, including, if I'm honest, my own. These Ron Paul people, well, they don't really like to be called that. The Liberty Movement claims they aren't falling for the lesser of two evils, divide and conquer tactic anymore. But you, Kurt, what's your excuse for coming on the Die Hard Republican Hour and throwing Mitt Romney under the bus? As a longtime friend, I'm going to pull a Schlichter. I'm going to get down on my knees and beg you to vote for Mitt Romney, despite the compelling argument you've made. And it is compelling, I must say. If Mitt Romney loses, I'm going to blame you. But I'm begging you right now, vote for Mitt Romney. What do you say, Kurt?
Stop telling me how to live my life. I'm a grown man.
A man-child to the end. Well, you really broke my heart here today, Kurt. I'd hoped we could have built off your articles and insincerely tried to bring these principled small L libertarians into the machine fold. But instead, you went ahead and gut-checked me pretty hard there with that vocal opposition to a Romney presidency. That didn't feel good. But anyways, my friend, tweet on. Keep blocking those little twerps who claim to contradict your claims of the necessity of playing this, quote, rigged two-party game to affect real change. These morons out there, they're just never going to get it, Morons. Anyways, want to thank our other guests on the Die Hard Republican Hour this evening, Bill Crystal of the Weekly Standard, and Dana Lausch of CNN and Breitbart.com fame. And, of course, Kurt Schlichter, Breitbart.com, BigHollywood.com. It's been great, Kurt. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be the last segment of the human centipede.
Wow. There he goes, folks. Kurt Schlichter. Classy with a capital K. All right. Thanks again for joining us another hour of the Die Hard Republican Hour with your host, Neocon, and as always, Ryan No. Hi. Remember, folks, pick a side, any side. Got to get out there and vote. Keep this thing going. We'll see you same time, same place here tomorrow. Take care.